Washte, this is Sandy Whiteshield. I'm here with Brian Charging Cloud today for the Lakota Story Hour. And I work in the Graduate Studies Department at Oglawa Lakota College. I've been there for 6 years and have enjoyed it very much. Brian?
Yes, and this is Brian Charging Cloud. The Petu Yamani Chanash na little election gatum kuna le wapche zapta eta wapche shakpe ha ashna I choya ke ashna kwak le gunash na le oe ha nice na ku gunash na ku honka ku kwak le na we choya ke kana toksha takuku unkahipcha we choya ke kile taku hechi na ko ibongola kop sa to na gupta na kam hena lila pilau ya ya chanku na glab tekto na washi ni gustan sa ana gupta kap na ko lila we chota la khotia na we chota le ana gupta na kable na ko le we choya ke na hun kan kanais le hani le Oyake sexty honey which Oyake slap. To ha to cash let you kata yaud na le wapre lil ash yaud na nisha takun which Oyake je la khotia nis mashuja ulaka oyake. Hello. Welcome to the Oglala Lakota College Storytelling Hour. I want to say thank you to KILI Radio for this hour and also to Lakota College. Tonight we have a story. Sandy's gonna help me out.
Someone is calling Brian.
And we're going to share with you a real. Sandy is going to do the English part, and I'll do the Lakota part. So if you're on the highway, listen to KILI and our storytelling hour. Sandy, do we have any announcements?
Well, Brian, as you know, I work in the Graduate Studies Department at the college, and I would just like everyone out there to know that we have several people who have been working on their SCAP and CAP projects, and will be presenting those projects at a colloquium on April 19th at Pejutahaka, and the public is invited. You should know that these students have been working on their projects for 1 year, doing research and putting together their theses, and this is the culmination of their graduate studies work at the college. So some of the topics are very interesting. The knowledge that's put forth in these topics really is interesting for people to listen to. So mark your calendars for April 19th and join us if you can. And I would at this time also like to say hello to Dawn, the director of Graduate Studies, Dawn Frank. I know she's on her way home now, so I'd like to say hi to her.
I'd like to say good evening to Dawn. She's the director of the Graduate Studies, and also I'd like to say thank you to Craig and Larry. They have been when we tell stories, we always touch on virtues, and one of the virtues is commitment and perseverance, and that's what they've been doing. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 12 we meet at Martin, and when you're committed and do something like this, they say that good things will happen. So hopefully a lot of good things will happen out of this. Now, what is storytelling? There was someone asked me that. I mean, in fact, I asked myself that question because I've been telling stories here, this hour is about storytelling. So one day I was sitting there thinking, what is storytelling? And I think you have something on that.
Okay, I do. One of my favorite books is The Lakota Way by Joseph Marshall. And the story I'm going to be telling today is actually one that he has in that book. But in his introduction to the book, he puts forth and tells us in a very concise and understandable way what storytelling is for the Lakota people. And he first begins by saying that there was a playground dispute in the 4th grade that concluded with a barrage of epithets hurled at a young man, each epithet more stinging than the one before, and that he was called every derogatory name for Indians that 2 white 4th grade classmates could remember. Stunned, he could think of nothing equally hurtful to throw back. And that evening, still hurting from the insults, he told his grandfather about the incident. Words can hurt, his grandfather said, but only if you let them. They called you bad names. Were you changed into those things they called you? No, the young man replied. You cannot forget what they say any more than you cannot feel the wind when it blows. But if you learn to let the wind blow through you, you will take away its power to blow you down. If you let the words pass through you without letting them catch on your anger or pride, you will not feel them. And that certainly is true. I can remember having a very similar incident when I was young and attending a grade school. To the Lakota, Joseph Marshall goes on to say, virtues such as humility, respect, sacrifice, and honesty carry a different weight and substance than they do in the Western culture. For us, these qualities are not so much elusive goals as they are essential parts of everyday life. They are instilled in us as firmly, as specifically as American courtesies like saying please and thank you or bless you after someone sneezes. At some point, we are supposed to be the things we learned in the stories: compassionate, honorable, and brave, and so forth. We know this because the storytellers lived the lessons they imparted in their stories, and they practiced what they preached. They were compassionate. They were honorable. They were brave and wise. The stories were and are the foundation and moral sustenance of Lakota culture. There is nothing more important. It isn't that we don't care about physical comfort or material possessions. It is because we don't measure ourselves or others by those things. We believe we are measured by how well or how little we manifest virtue in our life journey.
I had Victoria que na honey well hecta o como ha hi na le hey even like ha ka belaka was the Victoria que na honey trosh le wakanja que na le tiwa hel le we try to measure what can happen is anaroftam heta le dua nakole we try to what can le ji nice kaka na ina na ate le tiwa le henna tumahe lena takukcha lena okicha chale vichoya ke kilena happy cha oyakon leta le vichoni na o aye na o kile washte na shite kihe oko ogana mani chakawashte wa ogana mani ona hale mana le onshi cha api ona nako tako ayakap hena othala tako voichak ha ayakap ona ha hichana ko onshi kichilap ona nako iglo ni ham na voyo ni ha holena Lenachta tu chan leo tu moji takun oyake hata heta lenanach umpi. Lena uspecha kapi ash nakon takun oyake ki helena ihani le Lakota le wichong lena ihani gloha manipi. Thamahe lena ihanta umpi. Chalena cha le wana tchab ha lena tuichayu ninis oichak yakap hata lena glohamani agya na igloni ha wayoni ha lena yohamani kona ha le nakon heta le lena nach oha pina heta le nakon le ihani le Mons pekilena tako ota wankapi, tako wanjila wankapshni. Okshaksha eto na pahak hotaha na ko hekta ka eto. Ona mimea wakita. Cha tako wanjila ayuta instako wanjila soya ichaga pishni. Ohe le wichoya ke kile hechas ele wichashon le wuwa kile owa nikha lena che hani hechelon kompi atan ke lena ke yuicha kha ke yusuta ke lena oyake inche lena lechta to ke hale wichoya ke kile tako huwa to keske apichan ke lena nana ke kole hana lena koya kapi na nish ala naslo yapi le tukte ektel le utina kakana kapi na atena ina na kawi chashak sapa na winak sapa tukte ektel anarop na kaw le naslo yapi so kele na le han le wichon kele o umtrok chatson kele na banas tueni hechos ni sete Chahong asna lena asna yuna yom kap lena kap gna lena leta tua takon khiki swina takon khiki solingte atsan kaya pilawia pelotona na ropta na kavena vechetu yelo.
You know, in the Lakota way of teaching and learning, we turn to our old ones who have experienced the lessons of life to help us to learn how to live our own lives. Their teachings tell us of the virtues that we should hold as models for ourselves, and such is the story of No Moccasins. In the time before horses, No Moccasins and her husband Three Horn lived in a village. Their children lived there as well, and No Moccasins was grandmother to her children's children, and in fact to all the children of the village. No Moccasins was a very small woman and had hair the color of new fallen snow. She was an expert in quilling with intricate designs that she used, and she taught women of her own band and from others this fine art. Her teepee was always in order, and no one ever left from it hungry. In spite of her good qualities, she was mainly known as the wife of Three Horn. Three Horn was held in great esteem within the band. He had been a warrior gaining many honors. His lance was twice the height of a man, and to it were attached all of the eagle feathers, showing honor given to him. He was 70 winters old, and his hair was silvery white, and he stood tall and did not have a big belly that so many elders in their later years had. To see him took one's breath away. Finally, he had turned from the warpath and joined the council of elders, giving us his knowledge unselfishly. It seemed that Three-Horn had always been there, giving his advice to those who asked and helping his people in any way that he could. It was then hard to believe that he had fallen ill and lay on his deathbed. The word traveled about Three-Horn's condition, and people came from far away to see the sickened man. No Moccasin and her daughter and many other women of the tribe were busy preparing food to keep feeding all that came. When Three-Horn heard of all the people that had come, he asked that in the evening the eldest members came to his teepee. That evening, when the elders had gathered, No Moccasin made sure that each of her guests was comfortable. Then Three-Horn spoke and thanked them for coming. He told them of how he and No Moccasin had lived together for nearly 50 winters, and of how they had seen good times and bad. He told of having to take to war and losing some good men, but that today they were feared and respected by their enemies. The number of lodges in the band had grown, and the ways of the Lakota were good. He gave thanks to the Great Mystery for being born a Lakota. Three-Horn said that he had lived a good life, and he was ready for the next. But before he left, he had a story to tell, and he asked that this same story be told to all the people gathered the next morning at sunrise. Here, he said, is what I want you to know. When I was young, I left my village to go south to hunt. After many days of walking, I came to a village that was celebrating a victory over their enemies to the south. They asked me to join them, and we ate and danced late into the night. Then, the next morning, when I woke, I was looking into the prettiest eyes that I had ever seen. It's funny what suddenly rose along the trail to the water. I jumped up and followed the woman who had spoken to me, and I carried her water skins back to the village. It was the best chore that I have ever done. The next night, I lined up outside her teepee with all the other young men that had come to court her. Her name was Carries the Fire, and she did light a fire in my heart. To my great surprise, she asked that I come back the next evening. I stayed in the village all summer. To my very good luck, Carries the Fire decided that I would be a good husband. So I left the village to return to my home so that my family could gather the bride's price. It was the longest winter I had ever spent. I left my family to become part of Carries the Fire's village, as was the custom of my people. Soon after, our village was raided by the enemies from the south in retaliation for the prior victory. One of our good men was killed, and 2 young women were taken. A war party followed the enemy for half a moon and came upon their village just as the young women were being brought in. We made a plan. There were 6 of us, so 2 went to the east and started a fire, and 2 went to the west and started a fire. And while the warriors were trying to put out the fires, 2 of us went into the village and took back our women. The plan worked, except that I was caught. The others got home with the young women, which I was glad of. Our captors were very angry and made me a slave. They took all of my clothes, all of them. I was led around naked, and everyone laughed at me. I was made to work. I dragged poles I pulled drag poles until my knees and hands bled. They teased me and threw dirt in my face. I had to fight with the dogs for scraps to eat. At night, they bound me between two poles with a guard to watch. I felt lower than a dung beetle. I lost count of the days, and I looked for ways to get away, but I was getting weak from lack of food and water. After a time, they stopped putting a guard out at night, and I was able to work the poles loose a little bit, but someone saw, and they pounded them in deeper again. I was very discouraged. I prayed to the great mystery to make my death quick. One night, a cold rain came. I was naked and shivering. Even the dogs got out of the rain. My heart was heavy with the sadness of the thought of never seeing my young wife again. I thought about her so much that her face began to appear to me. In a moment, I realized that I really was seeing her. She cut my ropes and led me out of the village. I was weak from hunger and my mind was not working right, but the rain covered our tracks. She led me until morning to a place where she had put supplies. I rested, but we knew that the enemy would be angry at my escape and coming behind us. They knew that we would go north, towards home, even with our tracks gone. Cautiously, we started towards home, keeping a watch at our back trail. Then we saw them. Quickly, Carries the Fire found an old bear den and hid me in it. I knew that we should create a diversion, but I didn't have the strength to do it. But Catches the Fire had the same idea and left the den. After a while, she came back in bare feet. She said she had put her moccasins close to a stream as a diversion, and that the enemy was so close that she had to hide in a beaver mound by diving under the water and coming up in the middle of it. We traveled on to our home, and along the way, at first, I called her No Moccasin in a kidding way, but then I called her by that name as a badge of honor. When we returned home, she would not allow me to tell of the deed she had done, only that I had escaped and we had come home. I have asked you here to be a witness for me as I repay the great debt that I owe my wife. All the honors that I have been fortunate enough to gain in my life are not mine, but my wife's, for if she had not risked her life to save mine, I would not have been here to gain them. I have not heard of any man in my lifetime that had done a braver thing than she has done. She went into enemy country and into an enemy village. Few men can say they have done the same. Because of her, I have striven to be worthy of my life, but I am afraid I have not been. So I give all of these honors to the one who truly deserves them. All of my honors are to be moved to her side of the teepee. I ask also that when I leave this world soon, my burial scaffold hold only my body in my burial robe. I will leave this world as I was before I met my wife, poor and unadorned. I know many good people. I have known many good people in my life. People who were wise, honorable, generous, and brave. But none except this old woman had the one strength that gives meaning to all the others, humility. It is time that everyone knows of her bravery, even though she does not want it. The elder listeners gave their word to tell the story, and by the next day the story rose with the smoke from the fires. Days later, Three Horn died. No Moccasin cut her hair and then helped with preparations for feeding the large amount of people who had come. For many years, warriors came to visit No Moccasin and to honor her. She always humbly received them and fed them. No Moccasin died in her 70th year. On her burial scaffold were hung her husband's shield, weapons, and eagle feather staff. And on the ground below were piled hundreds of moccasins so that she would not have to journey to the other side in bare feet.
That's a good story. Before I get into the Lakota, I'd like to say to Baha, Baha, if you're listening, at the beginning I wasn't going to do this, and you're on the road now, and you might be out of range right now. The KILI radio, it's 5:25, and he left at 4 o'clock, so he might be maybe 100 and some miles away. But if you're listening, have a good trip, and we wish all the luck to the Red Cloud Crusaders. They will be playing at 12 o'clock our time tomorrow in Sioux Falls. And last Wednesday we came up here and we talked about all the basketball teams on the reservation and other reservations. I think they all did a very good job. And I watched them all at LNI. Someone has to lose, someone wins, and Red Cloud happens to be the winner. And they're also rated number 1 in the state, number 1 seeded. And hopefully they'll come back as number 1 in South Dakota. So good luck to the Red Cloud Crusaders. And Red Cloud, also the girls went to the state. So congratulations. And also to the Mustangs and the Thorpes and the Chieftains and the Chiefs. Hele Lakota yale blawakta. Chala le wichoyak wa oyaka. Kai hani le Lakota le uspemkjat takun uspemkjab naha istakun unkokjakab. Hantas ashna lena les le tua lena shaku ogana ucha ashna hetaha hena ashna hospit. Hena le inauchem na teuchem lena tita kepi na wichashaksa and the wiaksa. Manale wolf peke na chi glhamani wujala. Achanke ashna lena chashna anai chuhupta. Achanke le wichoya kekile lechas ya. Hani wichoti ma le hani le shwa khani chameha. Le hapa nicha ichapo. Wiya wa hapa nicha ichap. Na hingena kuki. The hey yamani chap tipi we told him tipi na wakanja ki op ona nakon le takojak pakupi the chinchapi na nakon chinchai khamcha le takojak pakup tipi we tik alana ha khiki wana sasa ona nakon le ichashya le wokya na Wolfspe le wichoya kiklenach una na loita chunke le wakare waipike na wakshu waipike chunke ashna le wichoti kilel wian kilenash na wachiampi hatash tagani eshne ashna oichake speichake ona hana kutuati ilhi hatanash Tohoni lochin kigleshne. Ohinya chin tiopaki gloraki gle. Onaha wait ki na ihanke wait waste ki na chashna. Tua hichanashna iha. Ona le taku lila wasteste gloha ichare kilena. Tohoni stoini nikili eloeshne. Is li wakaje wai pike eloeshne. Ashna the Heyamani Higanakama He Ash Itokrashna le hina ko he amene cha ke le vichasha ke ha le vichashi transu he chana na ko le sum yuha na ha sum wai pikina ta ko chunke na ko asna you only ha chankele lila woyo ni ha ota yo ha na ha le wambli le ska taku le wahu keza wa yo ha ho hele wambli wiaka kwa ke lila ota le woyo ni ha itu na hele kwa chicha ona ha wana le twane te wikchemana shakoi ha wana new ona ha ish wana prehiki ha ska ona vichasha kile lila ha ska ona ha nakole ashna lehan vichasha kile wana wana wani to ha chanasna kita wasna tezi ke ha ashna thanka bhetashna ata tezi wani jes ashna naji Mies ashtanas. Wa kabhantana slila toki ta chaho hecha oake. Konaha soke ashnale le vichasha le sapehnash omniche yohantanas na kole tako staleke na ashna uchakake. Konaha takon ingam hanta nakon asna itokhashni yokpia asna nana asna uchak watona ton khale heya mani kile waza kapi acha oyate ki ha makhasi to mani ahina asna wanka vichota salapi chin vichasha kile to kita na uhitike sanke you only happy ona ha le tukte tiki lel ashna ahi ona ha le vichasha hel le ija tha hel umpi chana ashna hi nasna tohan ilhi bhatana shna ashna le fatku ekta ashna echana kanasna vichayo le ha ashna upogla hani takuku etchompo na ashna uchakyak ona nakole hapa niche le traichuma hapa niche jakele wana wanietu kichemna zapta ob kchi chanke ashna henako uchakyak na nakole traiju kele kchi ta kuwashte na ta kushita chanku shichana chanku washte ogna yu hena ashna ulak hona nakule ashna toki le vichoti le unkile na ashna troka upsna ogna shum aman kichinopi chanke hena le hechum hatanas naka vichasha ota ashna vichoni gnoni pili chahna oyake tona tukte ekta hechum pili na vichara gnoni piki hna ashna oyake hona Lakota ke hana kanto keshke una tokeshke umaste yohapi hna ashna kiksia ta hna ashna uchakyak hona wopila makant khanka ashna ohina macheki ona he avni kile taun ho ash le vichoya kile na le vichasha le na uchakya kachi chanke wato han tam kha uchakya kinha ehi hanike apochata le taku uchicha ka kile na ateke uchakya ka poe na ake uchakya hani matrecho ha itoka zakya wokile ibla loe na petri tona ata maani na vichoti ma ilwai ai kha vichoti kile toki he Garapita, Tachi, Doki, Watapina, Eloapina, Uypia, El Oha in Gichopina, Wokupina, Yoni Happy. He had a hectare in Ka. The Wian, Vikoskala Koma, Lila Istaki was tested. What's a clear other Kikta here? Wian Kile, Vikoskala Kalebini here at Okia. Tokstogana is Atoki, we always speak Togana Arch, etc. Here, Hanimka, the Vikoskala Kaleti, Ektai, it hook up. Inka lila yokpie kicho. Le vikoskala kakile preta yuha etja. Inka kicho. Hana wana watoha yuka chiuzapi. Hana ha ta akshizapshne haninako yeti ekta ki. Hunkuna Tukuna is Nakontiwa at Holland, Uchaka, Mia Atawa Loe. Tahetia Nina Ahetia Unctelo, Yahani Toki, the Hoch, Bayateki Hetchum Nateta, Taisha Hetchum. Hotoha Dunkan with the Tiki Hell of Nalaka Hokaya Ahina Toki, Sumanu Ahisecha. We have Vikoskala Kakilena Hoch Maichanopi. On Vitasha Hoch Naka Vichaktepi. Hota Ubita, Vitasha Ubita in the Wuyuk Chokarapi. Ekta Uyana, Tokiski, Chokunka. Vikoskala Kaya Maichanopi, Kilena Vichuki, Tilo Airport. Hota Yukchapi, Turkish get shrunk tekile Yukchapi. Ikta Uyana, Takuku Ileviana, Helila Evachis, Onakas Nishkamata, Koskana, Lena, with Hoskana, Opna Ukhaktiva. Hotel Ona, Takuku Ilab. Inka Yeha Wispa, Langanak Papta. Ata Uispan Islohaki Skapachta Egle. On happy Chanasna, the Chanam Hancha Asna Kashka Egle Nasna Awaka. Atake the Babalushka Air Ubasna, Najin Hel Babalushka Utap. And I was not happy that sweet that is Nazi. Walk option and such a knuckle. What she is, I check you. What all happy one little snina Maharaj. The dark only near her keepy, the little sweeter. The Yorkshire. Oh, when it tried to Galacking Tishni kitchen. Not at Otefika kitchen. I have this lurch, I'm going to have a tragic ito zuwak. Ata I have this lurch, I'm going to try to get he. I'm happy as try to get him I want to leave a little cheese, not a tea. Was Sakchina Pre, we can now accept Sakchina Pre. The Maharaj Tanako Toki, the way up here one competition. So at a Kileka was yet a Kikila. Kikila as which are called the Preta. Yeting in Briheta, among the Higanaka Kileto Kilo China was and Hunkish. Hotel was Shuakta Mahel Nachme. نبخيت إيش من ما هاليا إن هال تشابا تيب وتشوان هال إنخمة ونالنا ويتالي هان يتابش نان كيلاب جاهتنا إيش كيلكيب ونهال تاكما لبخيتا يها إتشون هي كيكسيزا بخيتا يها لبنيان لغلا خمبا غلشلوك إنها خمبا غلنا إكينا تاكيل ويتالي بيكنا وانكا إنها توكيبنا نمهل إياه سجاكتشو نآتا هنا أوليها باش إياه يعني كاكي واشون هيتي نخبا ماش لأمون لناس لابش حتى أتا يتعرفشن تايتان كيلكيب كنا كيبي كنا ها لهاونيا لنا ويتشوية وياكي وغلاكس على توكش كيتشوكي تالي بيتاشا لنا نغبطان كابجا لنا ويتشاكي اللي متخيتشو كيلي تشاينا خمبا إغنا كنا ويتشاغنا يلوئي هيتشا خمبا نيجي اتشاق بلوئي كنا ها نيوا هيتشو ها نكون لتا كتونا مايو نيهامبي لوياكا مكوبي وهكذا وإلتاكوكو أتا أنخوايا لنا يوها لوياكي ليتشا لنا وكتلوه لنا تشين هيتشا نيوا أنكي لك عجلوه ييتشا ل بحيبي وبيتو تونا ماني نها أماغلي لوه تالي ويو نها كلنا يوها تخوى لوه وتالي وتيكي لل تونا تاكو لل بروحاكي لنا تخاك تلوه ومتهان متأيهان تنستاكوني يهابلا منيكتشني لوه توكشكي وهيتشا هيتشس إيوغانيكتي لوه توكشكي ميخايتشوكي أتاوا هيتشس إيوغالوتشي لوه تاغني بروحاشني هيها وهيتشس إيوغانيكتي لوه أنا ليلة أويات واشتشت أوتا ليمام كده تشوها سلويتشا والوه واسلويا بينها هوخنا كون لي واتشانتو غنا كافي أوهيتي كافي هلنا نأونشيتي كافي وتن كله أوبيا كله ننا خويا كافي ويتا يامني تشانخان لي هيامني أركيابي تا تامبا نيجا بخينغلك سينها ويتشاك تونا هيبنا يوها ويتشاك ويتا ونيتي ليلا أوتا أشنا هامبا نيجا أشنا ويتشوتا أشنا وانهي نيوني هابي هانتا أونشيتشا أشنا هنا ويتشاك ونيتو تونا نواتوها يكها هابا نيجا إشعوانا ونيتو ويكجمنا شاكو يختهان وانا إشعو يتشوني أيشتا تخابي وانا يالس جناكا كتاكو ويويو نيهاتخا يكوك وانا إغوت كافي وانا أخواتي وتشوتا يونيها بينها لهابا نيتي بتاعبنها هابا ليلا وتا وبايغ وهي أتا أخبارك وخاتي أهينا كافي هنا ل توكيا يكتا هيتش هنا نقلو هاي يكتا هيتش سي يكتا بينها هنا أهي يونيها بينها هو هيتش تيلو.
It's a good story. When I tell this story to my grandchildren, it ends up that everyone in the room stops talking to listen to this story, which is a good thing. The story surprised me because it took place before the time of horses. And most stories that we hear, I don't think we think of the people walking for many weeks to follow an enemy into enemy territory, and how hard truly that must have been, and that when we speak of fortitude and sticking to something, we do not understand how our relatives who came before us, how hard that exactly was. Because to walk that far in a chase would be, unimaginable today.
When you was telling it in English, I was sitting here thinking, to do something like that, and that shows compassion. For her to go into somebody else's territory, and she was walking, and to get him out of there, and she brought him back.
Yes, a great deal of courage, a great deal of planning, because she had to take the supplies that she knew they would need. She dressed herself in men's clothes so that she wouldn't be spotted as easily. And the love that she must have had, and the knowledge and not feeling that he had died, and that made her follow and find him was extraordinary. But that isn't the best part. The best part is when she brings him back to the tribe and she tells him before they come, I don't want you to speak of this thing I've done. I don't want you to talk of this good deed. I only want the people to know that you've gotten away. You've escaped from them. I mean, that is the lesson. That is the huge lesson here. That we do, hopefully we are able to do things in our lives that help other people in a very big way. But we don't talk about them, and we don't expect anything back for that we just do it. And in learning this story, now when I see someone who's older than I am, and they are like the person that No Moccasin represents, in that they are quiet and they don't say much. But now I have a question in my mind: what have they gone through in their life, and what do they have that they can teach me in my life, or what can they teach my children in their lives? So I look at people a little differently now after learning this story.
Today, on the other side of this is that today, when we do something, the Almighty Mazaska always comes in, and when we ask somebody to do something, right away we will say, how much do you want, or how much will he charge? So I don't know. And today, when we do something, I think we expect something in return too. So maybe this life we're living in, and we call it remember that Lakota word O'Nkokcha. It means a different life. So because of the culture change, it's different now. But it's still there's still many people that have this compassion and humility.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Life is different now, but when we see these people that do have compassion and do have humility, they stand out so radiantly from everyone else. And I believe they are held in esteem for what they do and what they give to us, because as a person gets older, as Three-Horn did, then there came a point in his life where the tribe expected him to give back his life experience to help the younger ones. And it's almost a duty to do that, and there's no payment for that except to see your people live a better life because you've experienced some things. And there are just so many different lessons within this story. It's the reason why it's one of my favorite, because you can take out things like his giving back. You know, he's not boasting of his accomplishments when he does that. He is giving a very valuable gift of knowledge. And our elders hopefully are doing that with their takoja, and so that in one way we don't lose those old values, because those old values are what sets us apart as a people, and those old values are what's going to sustain us into the future. Yeah, we cannot lose those.
Before I forget, I want to say hello to the special projects class down in Stanford.
Oh, yes.
They are listening right now, and that story you read in English, they will be doing a review on that.
Oh, okay.
So the special projects in Stanford, if you're listening, I want to say good evening, and we will see you Monday night on Polycom. That's a new word.
Oh.
I don't know if that's a new word, but I saw that on the downstairs at Piawichone on those screens.
Are we going to translate that?
No, it's we cheat nashkashka. So today we can sit here and teach a lesson, and I can see the students and they can see me, and we see that on the television every day.
Right.
That's what we're doing right now.
That's good. It's good to have that long arm out there. The Lakota people reaching across the airwaves.
Yes, we're reaching across the United States.
That's right.
Makasi Domini, they call it.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
We're making the language visible
and heard alive.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, this story in Lakota, the Vichoya Kekila, the Nalu Itaraki, you have money of Kupi, the Oshikichilapi. Tua Wonshilayahantanas. Hani to Kerchikas. Tua Tuktekta Techi Akip Hantanas. Tuana con swak hanitinesh, yechin kanitinesh, wigli nitas, takomani, the won shila kilayo hatsa, takomani, chihata iktaikt. Ona hetsunanako tuinio kerktis. Heta tagani, le Hillachamo cha KILI lo English. Duenio English. Na watch ke he cha goha. Ona nakon le tan nakon tak uables nakon yakiki he. Le tak tok hom hatanas nakon le el wuyukcha. To keske cham ke ha le tak tok hamokte ki le ta e chamokte. Ha he nakon hel le woya ke ki le he nakon yanke. Khos osnina trehan tucha. We te tona bulhakte, tona yuhamaningte. Ekta way ki ungana tokeshkitikte. Halenana ka wuyukchan ki hilkar. Kochan letan le wichoya ki letan le wuyukchan. Tuwata kune chunkte hata yukchankte. Wana tuwa wonshila yuhatanas tokechikash. Tuwa onshila kahechi tokechikash ekta ihunikte. Taku cha chi hechi, taku cha uki hechi, tako mani echungta. Wana nakon hel nakon le uha chinthanka, fortitude at washidya. Ohe nakon hel le wichoya ke kile hel nakon yanki. Chaya tona na upta nakamin na aketok sha le ta okonji ke ha, wichoya konji le chunkatum ka ukta. Leta ashna takon ashna woablize tuechti avana leta takon ituseche ona eshnis takon soleab na tcha ola kapshne avana takon yeksi apseche ota ana uptana kapile undila pilawya pehana le ogola Lakota College etaha chale vichoya ke kile oapkhiki ashna Opgemzeerd na mazashkashka zapta eta mazashkashka shakpiwayaashna. Leluyan kadishna Lakota vichoya kimkaka. Ta pilawya pilo nachtatu kilelila yokpia umpo. Le machpia trak bemir toksha ke lechi. Ata okonjike hawa una. Vichoya konji utitya koftula. So, Pilamaya pilo.
Brian, thank you for inviting me today to share this favorite story of mine, and I hope our listeners enjoyed it as much as I have too, and learned something from it too. So, Pudamia.
Thank you for coming up here, Sandy. Really,
Anytime.
thank you. Yeah, that was really good. And Sandy spent, I don't know how much time she spent, but she typed up this story, and I want to thank her for that, and also the story about what is storytelling.
Yeah.
That is something that I learned a lot from that.
Yes,
So
he has a very good way of, and again, if people would like to be interested in this book, it's called The Lakota Way by Joseph Marshall. And I believe that the bookstore at the college does have a lot of copies of that.
Yep, I have 2 copies.
I have given away so many copies because I like it so well.
I have one at the office, and my son has one at the house too. Well, thank you. I want to say thank you to KILI Radio, and good evening.